coming up, Roger Clark is in Brooklyn, where a photographer is giving New Yorkers a new perspective on the city's bridges.
Yeah, Annika, you know, we did a story a couple of months back about all the folks who take pictures of the Manhattan Bridge from Dumbo. Tons of people take pictures of the Brooklyn Bridge right here at Brooklyn Bridge Park. But imagine being up on top of the bridge and taking photos. That's what Dave Frieder did on 20 different bridges. We're going to show you his amazing pictures and tell you his story when Mornings on One continues from, Brooklyn.
And coming up, Roger Clark out in Brooklyn for us this morning. Dave Frieder, he's doing a story on him. He has spent decades photographing New York from some of the city's highest spots, its bridges. That collection has now come together in a new book showing off his years of work. Roger caught up with him to learn more about his passion, which dates back, Roger, to his childhood. I have been sitting on the set this morning enjoying his book because it's a beautiful book and it's also a real history lesson.
It really is about all the bridges in town. It's called The Magnificent Bridges of New York City. And indeed, Dave Frieder spent more than 25 years trying to achieve this dream of taking photos from all of his favorite bridges, working hard from hundreds of feet above the city.
These are marvels of civil engineering.
Dave Frieder has a thing for bridges. In fact, I don't think I've ever met anyone who knows as much about the bridges of the 5 boroughs.
And each main cable has wires just like this. Each main cable contains 5,434 wires.
Frieder turned his love of bridges into this coffee table photography book called The Magnificent Bridges of New York City. More than a quarter century in the making, Frieder gained unique access from the city and bridge authorities to snap photos on these spans. He climbed and photographed 20 of the city's major bridges for the book. There are more than 2,000 bridges in town. Frieder fell in love with bridges as a kid. His family moved from Queens to New Jersey.
Constantly going back and forth to New York, coming here, Brooklyn, to visit my grandmother, my father's parents in Manhattan, seeing all these bridges, looking at the Brooklyn Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, Williamsburg, Queensboro.
He took the photos between 1993 and 2008. Much less access was granted after 9/11 due to security concerns. He stresses his adventures were done with full cooperation of authorities that operate the bridges with safety in mind.
Unless you have the proper qualifications, unless you're trained, unless you have absolutely no fear of heights, and you have the proper safety equipment, you shouldn't be up there.
Now, Frieder loves them all, but he does have a favorite, the George Washington Bridge.
What is it about the GW? Is it a sentimental thing from growing up?
Well, I did cross it the most, but it is so massive, and it's one of a kind.
And seriously, don't challenge this guy to New York Bridge trivia.
Longest bridge.
Longest bridge is the Verrazano, 4,260 feet.
Highest bridge.
Verrazano, 693 feet.
Widest bridge.
Widest, Manhattan, 120 feet. GWB is 119.
It's uncanny how much this guy knows about bridges. But what a fun guy. And I mean, I don't know how he did it, but the book is great. It's The Magnificent Bridges of New York City. You can get it on Amazon or go to davefrieder.com where you can see all of his photos, Annika. Incredible pictures. And wow, some people, don't like heights. He doesn't care.
He certainly doesn't. I mean, I've been flipping through the book, Roger. It's fascinating. There's certain bridges in here that he profiles in detail. Does he have a favorite?
Yeah, he loves the George Washington the best. Now, me personally, I'm a big Verrazano fan, and I think that's just like a sentimental thing because I would always visit my dad on Staten Island driving from Queens and go back and forth. So I used to be able to see the Verrazano from my window, and I would always wonder when my dad was driving back if it could, I would wave to him from the window.
I'm sure he waved back.
Yeah, that was a cute thing.
Roger's dad to the train daddy.
Thank you, Roger. Have a great weekend. And thank you guys for joining us. And up next, we'll take you back out to Brooklyn Bridge Park with Roger Clark, who's getting a new view of the city.
Yeah, Annika, Eric is absolutely right. It's windy, it's cold, but you know what? It's actually a beautiful day to take pictures of the Brooklyn Bridge. Now imagine taking a picture on the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, like on top of the Brooklyn Bridge. That's what Dave Frieder did, and 19 other bridges in New York City. You're going to meet the Bridge Man when Mornings on One continues from Brooklyn.
What you know when I come to watch your flowers growing.
There are plenty of incredible views in the city, but not many people have seen New York from the angle that Dave Frieder has. The photographer has spent decades taking his camera to the top of city bridges and is now showing off those photos in his new book. Roger Clark caught up with him and joins us from Brooklyn Bridge Park this morning, where, Roger, you point out it is a perfect day to take pictures of a bridge, but the perspective that you take it from is what's in question here.
Right, yeah, you know, this is a very popular spot for tourists to come and take pictures of the Brooklyn Bridge. In fact, we just saw a couple doing it. But there's a little bit of a difference between being here and being up there. Let's introduce you to the guy who did that, Dave Frieder, author of The Magnificent Bridges of New York City. You climbed 20 bridges here in New York.
Yes, I did. 20 of them.
And this is amazing because this, you know, many of them were pre-9/11 before there were more restrictions to be able to do things like that. But you did this with full cooperation of the bridge authorities and the city DOT.
Yes.
And were able to get some really unique perspectives of the city and of all these beautiful bridges.
Yes, I did. It was I just fell in love with them. They're just like, they're marvels of civil engineering. Absolutely.
Yeah, and this happened kind of as a kid. You grew up in Queens, but you moved to Jersey when you were young, and then you were back and forth over the GW, which is your favorite.
Yes.
And then going to visit your grandmother here in Brooklyn, and you see your dad's place of business in Manhattan, and your whole life is bridges.
Yes, it is, pretty much. I mean, these are just such incredible structures, the way they hold up their dead weight and the live load, and the people, they're phenomenal structures.
And I've been bragging to people that I've never met someone who knows more about bridges than you, so we're going to do a little trivia quiz here.
Okay.
Some bridge trivia. That's cold, right? Trivia? Okay. First of all.
Yes.
The oldest bridge in New York City
Is High Bridge, or Aqueduct Bridge, originally known as Harlem River Bridge.
That is obviously correct.
Yes.
The oldest suspension bridge in New York City.
Right here. Marvelous Brooklyn Bridge, originally known as the East River Bridge, then New York Brooklyn Bridge. Then in 1915, it was changed to just Brooklyn Bridge because Brooklyn paid for most of the work.
Longest bridge in the city.
Is a Verrazano, 4260 feet and 693 feet high, the highest bridge.
Okay, and here's a bonus. Which Bridges brother played the dude in Big Lebowski?
Jeff Bridges.
Yes, you are correct. Dave Frieder, thank you so much for joining us on this chilly morning.
Thank you.
Check it out, The Magnificent Bridges of New York City, DaveFrieder.com. You can go check it out on it. I'm glad he got that one.
You know, yeah, I'm glad he got that one too, expanding beyond the literal bridges. I am checking it out, Roger. It is a beautiful book. I mean, because it's an oversized book. So it's perfect for like a coffee table or something, or really to spark some conversations about the beauty from that perspective. Thanks, Roger. We'll be back with you in the next hour.
Yeah.